is Jocelyn Alyse, that mindset teacher, encouraging you to change your thoughts so that we can change the world. Oh my. Listen, friend, today we're going to have a little chitty chat. And y'all, my opinion might be an unpopular one, but I want you to hear me out, okay? Today we're going to talk about why I do not have rules inside of my classroom. So before we really dig into this conversation, I have to talk about a training that I went to when I came down here to North Carolina. So they have something called New Teacher Topics, right? So it's for new teachers new to the state. And in this training session, right, in this PD, a teacher was talking about non-negotiables. And she said a non-negotiable is pretty much something you refuse to discuss that cannot be changed no matter the circumstance, okay? And she said that a lot of times rules are perceived as non-negotiables. Now, this particular presenter did not say not to have rules, but she said to be very careful in the rules that you select for your classroom. And we do this because when we do not stand on those rules 100% of the time, it dwindles the weight that those rules have inside of our classroom. And she illustrated this very clearly in a personal experience that she had. So she had set two non-negotiable rules in her classroom: no phones and no cursing, okay? No phones, no cursing. Pretty common, right? These are rules that we see all the time posted, especially when you go into upper grade classrooms. You'll see that like literally on the wall: no cussing, no phones. Well, one day she had a student who was particularly quiet, that she knew had a pretty difficult home life. And this student came up to her. She was teaching high school, and the student came up to her and he said, "Hey, Mrs. Such and Such, can I keep my phone out today?" And he said, "There's something going on with my mom. She told me she was going to text me as soon as she got some updates. And it would just put me at ease if I could just set my phone on my desk." He said, "I won't touch it. I won't mess with it. I'll just sit it there. If it chimes, I'll look up. I'll see if it's my mom. If it's not my mom, I won't even do anything with it." Right? So she's like, "Oh, sure. Like, for sure you can do this." And so other students, as class is going on, he has his phone, it's ringing, it's dinging, it's doing all of that. He had his sound on and he's looking at his phone and everything. She's not saying anything. And the students are noticing, right? They're looking at, this particular student, they're looking at the teacher. And then the student receives a message. And when he receives this message, he exclaims in front of the whole class, F-U-C-K, real loud, screams this. So the teacher comes over and she's like, "What's going on? Like, are you okay?" And he tells her, that his mother went to talk to their landlord today, that they were being evicted, and she was going to talk to him to see if she could work something out, and she couldn't. And so he said when he left school, he wasn't going to have a home to go home to. And this kid gets upset and she hugs him, tells him to go to the bathroom, call mom, do whatever you have to do. She told him that she would connect him to some counselors or, whatever she could do to try to help. And the kid goes away. And when she walks back into the room, another student proceeds to say, "Man, when I cussed in this class, I wish I would have got a F-U-C-K-I-N-G hug." So she set this rule up, y'all. She set these non-negotiables up with the best of intentions, right? And this moment really highlights how moments are circumstantial. For me, this student exclaiming that word, saying the F word in front of the whole class, is totally different from a student that is looking a teacher in the eye and calling her a bitch. Like, that is totally different. And I don't believe that those two things should receive the same consequence, right? And so they are looking like, okay, he did a double whammy, right? He broke the rule for the cell phones. He had his cell phone out all class, and then now he's cussing. And they don't understand or know the circumstance. And it's just like with us, y'all. Like our bosses, our principals, they tell us, come into class or be in the building at this time. Don't be late. And we text our boss the morning that we've lost our keys, or the morning that the car won't start, or the morning that the kid is sick, or the morning that the dog has pooped everywhere. Y'all, that happened to me before. My dog had diarrhea and I had to clean it up. Like I couldn't just leave it there. So I had to text my boss and I had to tell her like, hey, I'm going to be a few minutes late. This is what's going on. And she responded, you know, get here as soon as you can. No worries. It's all good. And so us, even as teachers, we understand, and as, you know, principals, we understand that there are circumstances where things just happen, right? Things just happen. And I believe that instead of setting these rules, or instead of setting these things that seem like non-negotiables, we should instead set class principles or class norm. When we think about the word principle, by definition, y'all, this is a belief that governs behavior. So it is something that we as a class believe, that we think. And I do like to make these with students. Y'all, I'm gonna show you a poster that we previously made. This actually was a couple years ago. I made it with one of my classes, and we started the conversation off by saying, you know, well, I want you to think. And I told kids, I prompted them to think about their most memorable experiences in a classroom. And I had them divided. And so they had like a best moments and a worst moments. And they, for a couple of minutes, just jotted down things like what was happening, what was going on, that this classroom, you know, was memorable to me, or that this moment, this day in my class was memorable. And then from that list, like they said, they shared different things that they wanted to share with the class. Like, oh, well, this was going on, or this was happening, or we were on a field trip, or, oh, one of the worst days was when, you know, these two students started fighting, and then the teacher tried to break it up and they punched her in the face. And, you know, the kids are talking about these different moments. I'm like, well, what could we say? What could we put in place to avoid that certain thing happening? Or what could we do to recreate those moments of fun? What governing principles, what things do we believe that will inspire that type of behavior in our class? And so that's where we came up with these lists of things. And you see, this list of stuff is not like a specific do not get out of your seat. It's not a specific do not pull out your phone. It's not a specific, you know, always use kind words. Because there might be some moments where my words might not be that kind, but I need to be able to refer back to some things that will allow me to behave in a certain type of way inside of our classroom community. So I love doing little principles like this, or allowing students to really think about, okay, not saying don't do this, but what can we do here that will create the learning environment that we want? So y'all, that is all I have to say about the rules, about why I do not have rules in my classroom. And I encourage you to really take the time to reflect, even if you want to establish like certain rules and you want to say absolutely no phones in my class. I just want you to consider different moments or circumstances or different things that might make that necessary. Or if you're trying to say, you know, oh, no food or candy, but what if a kid hasn't eaten all night and they missed breakfast because their parent dropped them off late? And so now, do we just say this kid starves? Like, if they have a snack in their book bag, or if, you know, the cafeteria lady gave them an extra breakfast, do we just say, no, you should be hungry? I want you just to think about all of these different things, and to really think, like, how do I want my classroom to run? What are my beliefs and the things that I truly find non-negotiable in my classroom? So if you like this video, like, subscribe, comment down below what your non-negotiables are, or whether you choose to do rules. What rules do you have in your classroom? What principles do you have in your classroom? I love y'all. I love all of your support, and I will see you soon.